He stood at the altar and whispered a prayer so shallow it would haunt him forever. Please let her be blonde. But fate had other plans, and when the veil lifted, Ethan Ward's world shattered in the most beautiful way possible. The woman before him was nothing he expected, everything he needed and absolutely everything his family would reject. What started as a careless wish collided with destiny in a moment of irony that would either destroy him or save him. His mother's cruelty, his cousin's betrayal, and a society obsessed with appearances stood between them. But love born from fate's twisted sense of humor has a way of rewriting every rule. Subscribe and comment if you believe fate knows better than we do, because this story proves that the best answers to prayer are the ones we never saw coming. The morning sun cut through the hotel suite windows like a knife. Ethan Ward stood in front of the mirror, tugging at his bow tie for the third time. His hands wouldn't stop shaking. "Stop fidgeting," his mother said from the doorway. Vivian Ward wore a cream-colored dress that probably cost more than most people's cars. Her pearls caught the light as she crossed her arms. "You look like a nervous child." "I am nervous," Ethan said. He gave up on the tie and let his hands drop. "Mom, I don't even know her." "You know enough." Vivian smoothed an invisible wrinkle from her dress. "Harold Collins is one of the finest men in California. He wouldn't choose someone unsuitable for you." Ethan turned away from the mirror. At 32, he'd built a successful winery business alongside his family. He'd dated plenty of women. He'd never imagined his wedding day would feel like walking into a business meeting where he hadn't read the contract. "This is insane," he muttered. His cousin Oliver lounged on the leather couch, already wearing his groomsman suit. He looked too comfortable, like he was enjoying Ethan's misery. "It's strategic," Oliver said, swirling the whiskey in his glass. "Collins owns half the distribution network on the West Coast. This marriage secures everything for the Ward name. It's not a merger. It's supposed to be a wedding." Ethan's voice came out sharper than he meant. Vivian's expression hardened. "Don't be dramatic. Love can grow. But legacy? That must be protected first." Ethan looked out the window at the chapel across the garden. White flowers covered every surface. 300 guests waited inside. He'd agreed to this arranged marriage in a moment of weakness, tired of his mother's constant pressure and Harold's persuasive arguments about family and duty. But now, standing here in his tuxedo, reality pressed down on him like a weight. He closed his eyes and whispered under his breath, "Please let her be blonde." It was a stupid prayer, shallow. But in that moment, his mind grabbed onto something familiar. Every woman he'd ever dated had been blonde. It was what he knew, what felt safe. Oliver's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and smiled. "Cars are arriving. Time to face your fate, cousin." Ethan's stomach twisted. The chapel smelled like roses and expensive perfume. Ethan stood at the altar, the minister beside him, while 300 faces watched from the pews. Soft classical music played from hidden speakers. His heart hammered against his ribs. He tried to remember what Harold had told him about his goddaughter. Professional photographer, well-educated, kind, but Harold had shown him no photos. "Let fate surprise you," the old man had said with a mysterious smile. The music changed. The wedding march began. Everyone stood. Ethan's hands went clammy. The chapel doors opened. A figure appeared, veiled in white, holding Harold Collins's arm. The older man looked proud and calm as they began the slow walk down the aisle. Ethan couldn't make out any features through the veil. Just the graceful way she moved, like she was gliding instead of walking. The crowd had gone completely quiet. Ethan's mother sat in the front row, her face unreadable. Harold and the bride reached the altar. The older man placed her hand in Ethan's. His grip was firm. His eyes held a warning and a promise all at once. "Be worthy of this," Harold whispered, too low for anyone else to hear. Then he stepped back. Ethan and his bride stood facing each other. Her hand felt small and warm in his. Through the veil he could see only the outline of her face. The minister began to speak, traditional words about love and commitment. Ethan barely heard them. His entire focus had narrowed to the woman in front of him and the moment when he would finally see her face. "You may now lift the veil," the minister said. Ethan's hands trembled as he reached up. He lifted the delicate fabric slowly and froze. The woman before him was beautiful, absolutely stunning. Her skin was a rich, warm brown that seemed to glow in the chapel light. Her eyes were deep and dark and calm. Her features were elegant, strong, perfectly balanced. She wore her natural hair in soft curls that framed her face. She was not blonde. She was black. Shock hit him like cold water. His mind went blank. He'd expected someone else, Someone who looked like every other woman his mother had introduced him to over the years. This was not what he'd imagined, not what he'd prayed for in that stupid, shallow moment upstairs, but he couldn't look away from her. She watched him with a slight smile, not nervous, not afraid, just present, like she was waiting to see what he would do next. "Hello," she said softly. Her voice was like honey. Hello," Ethan managed. The minister cleared his throat. "Shall we continue?" Ethan nodded, still unable to tear his eyes away from her face. The ceremony continued in a strange bubble of silence and sound. Ethan heard himself repeating vows. The words came out mechanical, stumbling. He forgot a line halfway through and had to start over. The woman, his bride, steadied him with a whisper. "It's just us here." It wasn't true. 300 people watched. But something about the way she said it made his breathing slow down, made his hands stop shaking. When it was her turn to speak, her voice never wavered. "I, Amara Collins, take you Ethan Ward." Amara. Her name was Amara. She spoke her vows with quiet confidence, like she meant every word, even though this marriage had been arranged just like his, even though she couldn't have wanted this any more than he did. The rings came next. Ethan slid the band onto her finger. It fit perfectly. Harold must have gotten her size somehow, then it was done. "You may kiss the bride," the minister said. Ethan hesitated. This was supposed to be a handshake, right? That's what they'd agreed to in the brief phone call they'd had 2 days ago. Keep it professional. Keep it simple. But Amara leaned in slightly. Her eyes held a question. So Ethan kissed her. It was brief, gentle, just a press of lips that lasted maybe 3 seconds. But something passed between them in that moment. Something he couldn't name. It felt like recognition, like fate clicking into place. When they pulled apart, cameras flashed from every direction. Amara smiled at him. A real smile this time, not the careful one from before. They turned to face the crowd as husband and wife. The applause started slowly, then built into a wave. The reception hall looked like something from a magazine. Late afternoon sunlight poured through floor-to-ceiling windows. White and gold decorations covered every surface. A live band played soft jazz in the corner. Ethan and Amara sat at the head table, side by side but not touching. The whole thing felt surreal. Guests kept approaching to offer congratulations. Most of them stared at Amara with barely concealed surprise. Some whispered to each other when they thought no one was watching. Ethan's mother had disappeared into a corner with several other society women. Their faces looked pinched, unhappy. Oliver stood near the bar, smirking at his phone, but Amara handled it all with grace. She smiled at every guest, shook hands, thanked them for coming. She made small talk like she'd known these people her whole life, even though Ethan knew she hadn't. "You're good at this," he said quietly between guests. She glanced at him. "At what?" "Dealing with them. All of this." "I photograph people for a living," Amara said. "You learn to read rooms, to adapt." She paused. "Most of them are staring because they didn't expect me." "Yeah." Ethan felt heat creep up his neck. "I didn't either." "I know." Her voice held no anger, just fact. "Harold told me you'd asked for no photos before the wedding. I did the same. Seemed fair to keep it a surprise for both of us." "Why would you agree to this? An arranged marriage to a stranger?" Amara looked down at her hands. "Harold's more than my godfather. He helped raise me when my parents died. He's never steered me wrong." She met Ethan's eyes. "And honestly, I was tired of dating men who only wanted pieces of me. At least this way the expectations are clear up front." Before Ethan could respond, the band launched into a new song. The MC announced the first dance. They stood and walked to the center of the floor. Ethan placed one hand on Amara's waist. She rested her hand on his shoulder. They began to sway to the music. "I don't really know how to dance," Ethan admitted. "Just follow the rhythm. Don't overthink it." They moved slowly around the floor. Other couples joined them after a minute. The attention shifted away. Ethan found himself actually looking at his wife, really looking. She had tiny freckles across her nose, a small scar on her chin. Her perfume smelled like vanilla and something floral he couldn't name. "You're beautiful," he said before he could stop himself. Amara's eyes widened slightly. "Thank you. I'm sorry I looked shocked earlier." "You were honest," she shrugged. "Better than pretending." The song ended. They pulled apart. Guests applauded again. Ethan noticed his mother watching from across the room. Her expression could have frozen fire. The reception dragged on for hours. Speeches, toasts, more dancing. The cake cutting became another photo opportunity. Ethan and Amara smiled until their faces hurt. But something strange happened as the afternoon turned to evening. Ethan kept finding himself watching Amara instead of the crowd. She laughed at one of Harold's stories, and the sound was genuine and warm. She complimented the chef on the food and actually took time to talk to him about the ingredients. She danced with Harold, with an elderly uncle Ethan barely knew, with the band's drummer's 8-year-old son who'd snuck onto the floor. People gravitated toward her, and Ethan felt something twist in his chest. Not quite jealousy, more like envy. She made it look effortless. Being herself, being kind. He'd spent the whole day feeling like he was wearing a costume. Around 8 o'clock he needed air. He slipped out onto the balcony that overlooked the hotel gardens. The cool evening breeze felt good against his face. He pulled out his phone and scrolled through nothing. Just needed something to do with his hands. "Can I join you?" He turned. Amara stood in the doorway holding 2 glasses of champagne. She'd taken off her veil, and her curls moved slightly in the breeze. "Yeah, of course." Ethan took one of the glasses. "Thanks." They stood at the railing, looking out at the gardens below. String lights twinkled in the trees. In the distance, the ocean reflected the sunset. "Beautiful view," Amara said. "Yeah." Silence stretched between them. Not entirely comfortable, but not hostile either. "I need to be honest with you," Ethan said finally. "When I was getting dressed this morning, I prayed for something stupid." Amara looked at him. "What did you pray for?" Heat flooded his face. "I asked for a blonde bride." He waited for anger, for hurt, for her to throw the champagne in his face. Instead, Amara laughed. Not a bitter laugh, a real one. "Well," she said, "clearly fate has a sense of humor. You're not mad?" "Why would I be mad? You were honest." She took a sip of champagne. "I prayed for something too, if it makes you feel better." "What?" "I asked to not feel trapped." Her smile faded slightly. "I lost someone a few years ago, someone I thought I'd marry. When it ended, it broke something in me. I stopped trusting my own judgment about men." She looked at him. "At least with an arranged marriage, I knew what I was getting into. No surprises, no one pretending to be something they're not." "And then you got me," Ethan said. "A guy who prayed for a blonde wife." "And I got me," Amara countered. "A woman who agreed to marry a stranger." She held up her glass. "Neither of us is perfect. Maybe that's okay." They clinked glasses. In the garden below, fireworks suddenly erupted. Someone must have arranged them as a surprise. Colors exploded across the sky. Gold, red, blue, silver. The booms echoed off the hotel walls. Amara gasped. "Oh, that's beautiful." She moved closer to the railing, her face lit up by the changing colors. Ethan watched her instead of the fireworks. When the last one faded, she turned and caught him staring. "What?" she asked. "Nothing. Just..." He shook his head. "I didn't expect you." "Neither did I," Amara said softly. "But here we are." "Yeah, here we are." They stayed on the balcony until someone came to tell them the last guests were leaving. Time to go back inside and play the happy couple one more time. But as they walked back together, Ethan felt a tiny spark of something he hadn't expected. Curiosity, maybe, or possibility. The next morning came too fast. Ethan woke up in the hotel suite with a pounding headache and the memory of too much champagne. He'd insisted on separate rooms for him and Amara the night before. Harold had frowned but agreed. Now showered and dressed in jeans and a button-down, Ethan headed downstairs to the restaurant. He needed coffee, and maybe pancakes. Definitely pancakes. He found his mother and Oliver at a corner table, heads bent together in conversation. They didn't notice him approach. "Embarrassment for the family," Vivian was saying. "Harold should have warned us." "An annulment might still be possible," Oliver said. "They haven't consummated anything. It's barely legal yet. The press would have a field day. Better than having her as a permanent fixture at family events." Ethan's hands clenched into fists. "Good morning to you too." They both jumped. Vivian recovered first, her face smoothing into a practiced smile. "Darling, we were just discussing..." "I heard what you were discussing." Ethan pulled out a chair and sat down hard. "And the answer is no." "Ethan, be reasonable," his mother said. "This isn't what we agreed to when Harold proposed the arrangement." "What did you agree to? That I'd marry someone who looks a certain way?" Vivian's mouth tightened. "Don't be crude. I'm being honest." Ethan leaned forward. "Amara is my wife. Harold chose her. That's good enough for me." "You've known her for one day," Oliver said. "Don't be an idiot. This could damage everything we've built. Or maybe it could be the best thing that's happened to this family in years." Ethan stood up. "No annulment, no discussions behind my back. If you have a problem with my marriage, take it up with Harold. I'm sure he'd love to hear your thoughts." He walked away before they could respond. His appetite had vanished, but he felt lighter somehow, stronger. Near the elevator, he nearly crashed into Harold himself. The older man caught his arm, steadying them both. Harold was 60 but looked 50, with silver hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. "Overheard your mother just now," Harold said quietly. "Proud of you, son." "I don't know what I'm doing," Ethan admitted. "Nobody does. That's the point." Harold smiled. "But you chose right. That's what matters." "I haven't chosen anything yet. We barely know each other." "Then get to know her." Harold's grip on his arm tightened slightly. "Amara deserves someone who'll see her, really see her. Think you can do that?" Ethan thought about Amara on the balcony, lit up by fireworks, about her laugh during the reception, about the way she'd steadied him during the vows. "Yeah," he said, "I think I can." "Good," Harold released him. "Because if you hurt her, arranged marriage or not, you'll answer to me." It wasn't a threat. It was a promise. Ethan found Amara in the hotel's breakfast room an hour later. She sat by the window, camera in hand, photographing the sunrise over the ocean. She'd traded yesterday's wedding gown for jeans and a soft yellow sweater. Her hair was pulled back in a low ponytail. She looked up when he approached. Hey, mind if I join you?" "It's a free country." Ethan sat across from her. A waiter appeared immediately with coffee. He ordered eggs and toast without really thinking about it. Amara set down her camera. "How are you feeling? You looked pretty tired last night." "Like I got hit by a truck made of champagne." He managed to smile. "You?" "I don't drink much. Old habit from photography gigs. Always want to keep a clear head." She poured cream into her own coffee. "Did you sleep okay?" "Not really. You?" "Same." They sat in awkward silence. Other hotel guests moved around them, oblivious to the weirdness of two newlyweds who could barely make conversation. "Tell me something about yourself," Ethan said finally. "Something real." Amara raised an eyebrow. "That's a big question." "Start small then. What's your favorite place? Somewhere you've photographed or just somewhere you love?" She thought about it, stirring her coffee slowly. "There's a lighthouse up the coast about 2 hours north of here. I found it by accident 5 years ago when I was on assignment. It's abandoned now, needs restoration. But during sunset, the light hits the rocks just right and everything turns gold." Her face softened. "I've probably been there 50 times. Never gets old." "Why that place?" "Because it's forgotten, but still standing. Still beautiful, even though no one's taking care of it." She met his eyes. "Guess I relate to that." The vulnerability in her voice made Ethan's chest tight. "I'd like to see it sometime," he said. "Maybe I'll take you." She smiled slightly. "What about you? Favorite place?" "The vineyard. Specifically, the northeast corner where the old vines grow. My grandfather planted those 60 years ago. They still produce grapes, even though everyone said to replace them years ago." He wrapped his hands around his coffee mug. "My dad used to take me there when I was a kid, before he died. It's the only place I can still hear his voice clearly in my memory." Amara's expression softened. "I'm sorry about your father." "Thanks. It was a long time ago, but..." He shrugged. "Some losses don't shrink." "No, they don't." Her food arrived. They ate in more comfortable silence this time. Ethan found himself watching the way she cut her food into precise pieces, the way she checked her camera settings between bites. "So what happens now?" Amara asked eventually. "Do we go home and pretend this was all normal?" "I don't know what normal is anymore." Ethan pushed his eggs around his plate. "But Harold suggested we spend a week at the vineyard, said we should take the time before jumping back into real life. A honeymoon? More like a getting-to-know-you retreat?" He felt his face heat. No pressure. Separate rooms. Just us without all the wedding chaos. Amara considered this. "Okay. Okay? Yeah. Why not?" She set down her fork. "We're married whether we like it or not. Might as well figure out if we can stand each other before we have to face the real world again. That's very practical. I'm a practical person." But she smiled when she said it. They finished breakfast talking about small things. Favorite foods, morning routines, whether coffee should be black or doctored up with cream and sugar. Nothing deep, but it felt like progress. As they left the restaurant, Amara paused. "Ethan? Yeah? Thank you for defending me to your family this morning. Harold told me what you said." Ethan felt his neck heat. "You heard that? Harold hears everything." She touched his arm briefly. "But still, thank you. They were out of line." "They were. But you didn't have to stand up for me. We barely know each other." "Doesn't matter. You're my wife. That means something, arranged or not." Amara studied his face for a long moment. Then she nodded. Okay then. Let's go to your vineyard and see if we can figure out what this means. That afternoon, Ethan loaded their bags into his car while Amara said goodbye to Harold. The old man hugged her tight, whispering something that made her laugh. Then they were on the road, heading north along the coast highway. Ocean on the left, golden hills on the right. The scenery was postcard perfect. Ethan glanced over at Amara. She'd pulled out her camera and was photographing through the window. The afternoon light made her skin glow. His phone buzzed in the cup holder. His mother's name flashed on the screen, then Oliver's, then his mother, again. Amara noticed. You should answer. Not right now. He reached down and turned off the phone completely. She raised her eyebrows but didn't comment. They drove in comfortable silence, the radio playing soft rock. After about an hour, Amara's eyes started to close. Her head nodded forward, then jerked back up. You can sleep, Ethan said. It's another hour at least. I don't want to be rude. You're not sleep. She gave him a grateful look and curled up in the passenger seat. Within minutes, her breathing had evened out. Ethan found himself driving more carefully, taking turns slower, trying not to hit bumps. He told himself it was just common courtesy, but when he glanced over and saw Amara sleeping peacefully beside him, sunlight playing across her face, something shifted in his chest, something that felt dangerously close to caring. He turned his eyes back to the road and kept driving toward the vineyard, toward whatever came next, toward a future that had stopped being what he'd prayed for and started being something he couldn't quite name yet. But maybe that was okay. Maybe fate knew what it was doing after all. The vineyard appeared as the sun touched the horizon. Rolling hills covered in grapevines stretched toward the ocean. The main house sat on top of a gentle slope, all stone and wood and huge windows that caught the dying light. Ethan pulled up the long driveway. Amara stirred awake, blinking. We're here, he said. She sat up and looked out the window. Her breath caught. Ethan, this is beautiful. Wait until you see the view from the back terrace. Staff members appeared as they parked. An older woman with kind eyes and grey hair, pulled into a bun, hurried forward. Mr. Ward, welcome back. She noticed Amara and her smile widened. And you must be Mrs. Ward. I'm Rosa. I manage the house. Amara shook her hand. Just Amara is fine. It's nice to meet you. Let me show you to your rooms, Rosa said. We've prepared the east wing. Beautiful views of the vines. They followed her inside. The house was even more stunning inside. Exposed beams, polished wood floors, comfortable furniture that looked lived in rather than showroom perfect. Photographs covered the walls. Ethan as a child, his grandfather, the vineyard through the decades. Rosa led them upstairs and down a hallway. She opened 2 doors across from each other. The master's suite, she said, gesturing to the right, and the guest room. I wasn't sure about arrangements, so I prepared both. Thank you, Rosa, Ethan said. This is perfect. After Rosa left, Amara walked into the guest room. It had a queen bed, a sitting area, and French doors that opened onto a small balcony. She stepped outside and gasped. Ethan joined her. The view stretched for miles. Rows of grapevines glowed golden in the sunset. Beyond them, the ocean sparkled. I could photograph this forever, Amara said softly. Feel free. The whole property is yours to explore. She looked at him. Thank you for bringing me here. Thank you for coming. They stood there as the sun finished setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink and purple. For the first time since the wedding, Ethan felt like he could breathe properly. Dinner that night was strange and wonderful. Chef Marco, who ran the vineyard's small restaurant and catering, insisted on cooking for them himself. He was a big man with a bigger laugh and hands that moved like magic over cutting boards and pans. Newlyweds need proper food, he declared, shooing them toward the dining table. Sit. Let Marco work. They sat at a small table on the back terrace. Candles flickered between them. Stars had started appearing overhead. Marco brought out course after course, fresh bread with olive oil, salad with herbs from the garden, pasta with a sauce that tasted like summer, grilled fish that melted in their mouths. This is incredible, Amara said around a bite of fish. Marco's been here since I was a kid, Ethan explained. He taught me everything about food, probably spent more time in his kitchen than anywhere else on the property. Smart boy, Marco called from inside. Food is love. Love is life, Amara laughed. The sound made Ethan smile. As they ate, they talked more easily than before. Amara told him about growing up in Oakland with her parents, how her mother had been a teacher and her father a musician, how they died in a car accident when she was 19. Harold stepped in, she said quietly. He'd been my dad's best friend. He made sure I finished college, helped me start my photography business, never let me feel alone. He's a good man. The best. She took a sip of wine. What about you? You mentioned your dad died when you were young. Ethan nodded. I was 12. Heart attack. Sudden. One day he was teaching me about grafting vines. The next day he was gone. He stared at his glass. My mom changed after that. Became obsessed with image and status, like if she could control how people saw us, she could control everything else. That must have been hard. It was. Still is. He met her eyes. She means well, in her own way. But sometimes I feel like I'm suffocating under all her expectations. Is that why you agreed to the arranged marriage? To make her happy? Partly. But also, he struggled for words. I was tired. Tired of dating women who only cared about the money or the name. Tired of wondering if anyone would want me if I was just Ethan, not Ethan Ward, the winery heir. He laughed bitterly. Pathetic, right? No, it's human. Amara reached across the table. Her hand hovered near his. I get it. After my ex, I stopped trusting my own judgment. Every guy I dated felt like a risk. At least with an arranged marriage, I knew what the deal was. No false promises. Ethan turned his hand over, palm up. After a moment, Amara placed her hand in his. They sat like that, fingers loosely intertwined, while the candles burned down and the stars grew brighter overhead. The next morning, Ethan woke to his alarm at 6. Old habits from years of working the harvest. He showered, dressed in work clothes and headed downstairs. He found Amara already awake, sitting on the back terrace with her camera. She wore leggings and an oversized sweatshirt. Her hair was loose and wild from sleep. You're up early, he said. Sunrise, she explained, showing him her camera screen. The light at this hour is magic. He looked at her photos. They were beautiful. The vines emerging from morning mist, dew on leaves catching the first rays of sun. The way shadows and light played across the hills. These are really good. Thanks. She smiled. I love mornings. Everything feels possible. An idea struck him. Want to see the harvest process? We're not picking yet, but I can show you how it all works. Her face lit up. Really? Really? Let me grab you some boots. The ground gets muddy. 20 minutes later, they walked through the vines together. Ethan explained about soil quality, grape varieties, how they knew when fruit was ready to pick. Amara listened intently, asking smart questions, taking photos of everything. My grandfather believed vines were like people, Ethan said, running his hand along an old vine. They need the right conditions to thrive, but they also need stress. Too much comfort makes weak grapes. A little struggle builds character. Wise man. Yeah, I miss him. They walked deeper into the vineyard. The morning was cool and perfect. Birds sang overhead. The ocean breeze carried the scent of salt and growing things. Amara stopped suddenly. She'd stepped in a particularly muddy patch. Her boot sank deep. Oh no, she said, laughing. I'm stuck. She tried to pull free and lost her balance. Ethan caught her before she fell, his arms wrapped around her waist. She grabbed his shoulders. They froze like that, faces inches apart. Hi, Amara said, breathless. Hi, Ethan replied. Her eyes were so dark he could see himself reflected in them. Her breath smelled like coffee and mint. Up close he could see the exact pattern of her freckles. I should let you go, he said. Probably. But neither of them moved. Then Amara's stomach growled loudly. They both burst out laughing. Okay, maybe breakfast first, she said. Ethan helped her pull free from the mud. They walked back to the house, bumping shoulders, laughing about nothing in particular. Later they sat on a hillside with sandwiches and lemonade that Rosa had packed. The view stretched forever. Amara had mud on her jeans and leaves in her hair. Ethan had dirt under his fingernails. They looked like a mess and felt perfect. This is nice, Amara said, lying back in the grass. Yeah? Yeah. No pressure. No cameras. Just this. Ethan lay back beside her. Their shoulders touched. Above them, clouds drifted across the blue sky. I'm glad you're here, he said. She turned her head to look at him. Me too. 2 days later, their peace shattered. Ethan was in the office handling paperwork when Rosa knocked on the door. Her face looked worried. Your mother just arrived, she said. She didn't call ahead. Ethan's stomach dropped. Where's Amara? In the garden, photographing the roses. He found his mother on the front terrace, stepping out of her Mercedes. She wore white linen and oversized sunglasses. Oliver climbed out of the passenger seat behind her. Mom, what are you doing here? Vivian removed her sunglasses. Checking on you. You haven't returned my calls. Because I'm on my honeymoon. Honeymoon. She said the word like it tasted bad. Ethan, we need to talk about this situation. There's no situation. Amara and I are fine. Are you? Oliver asked. He looked around like he owned the place. Seems awfully quiet for newlyweds. Before Ethan could respond, Amara appeared from around the side of the house. She wore a sundress and sandals. Her camera hung around her neck. She looked beautiful and relaxed. Then she saw Vivian and Oliver, and her expression closed off. Mrs. Ward, she said politely. Oliver, I wasn't expecting visitors. Clearly, Vivian said, her tone cold. She looked Amara up and down. How casual. We're at a vineyard. Seemed appropriate. Vivian's lips pressed into a thin line. Ethan, might we speak privately? Anything you want to say, you can say in front of my wife. Vivian's eyes flashed, but she smiled tightly. Very well. I've been fielding calls all week. Questions about the wedding, about the unexpected nature of your bride. Her name is Amara. I'm aware. Vivian's voice could have cut glass. What I'm trying to understand is why Harold neglected to mention certain details before the arrangement was finalized. Amara stiffened beside Ethan. Certain details? Don't be obtuse, dear. You know exactly what I mean. Mum, Ethan started, but Amara stepped forward. Her voice stayed calm, but steel ran underneath. Say what you mean, Mrs. Ward. Don't hide behind polite words. Vivian's mask slipped. Fine. You're not what we expected. Not what this family needs. Your background, your appearance, it complicates things. My appearance. Amara's hand clenched around her camera. You mean the fact that I'm black? I mean that you don't fit the image we've cultivated for generations. The words hung in the air like poison. Ethan felt rage building in his chest, but before he could speak, Amara touched his arm. It's okay, she said quietly. Then she looked at Vivian. I'm sorry I'm not what you wanted, but I'm what your son got. If that's a problem, take it up with Harold, or take it up with fate. But don't take it out on me. She turned and walked back into the house. Ethan rounded on his mother. Get out. Ethan, I said get out, both of you, now. Don't be dramatic, Oliver said. Your mother's just being realistic. Realistic? She was cruel. She insulted my wife in my home. Ethan's voice shook. I defended you to Harold when he warned me about you, but he was right. You care more about appearances than about people. Vivian's face went white. How dare you speak to me that way? How dare you treat Amara like that? He pointed toward the driveway. Leave. Don't come back until you can be civil. Ethan, please, Vivian said, and for a moment she sounded almost vulnerable. I'm trying to protect you. I don't need protection from my own wife. He walked away before they could respond. He heard car doors slam, an engine start, gravel crunching under tires. He found Amara in her room, sitting on the bed. She wasn't crying, but her hands trembled slightly as she gripped her camera. I'm sorry, Ethan said from the doorway. Don't be. She's your mother. She loves you. That doesn't excuse what she said. Amara looked up. I've dealt with worse. Trust me. Your mother's just scared. She sees me as a threat to her world. You're not a threat. You're my wife. Am I? The question was soft, but heavy. We've been married 3 days, Ethan. We barely know each other. And already your family hates me. They don't hate you. They're just... He struggled for words. Narrow-minded. Scared of change. Maybe. Amara stood up. But we need to be realistic. This is going to be our life. People judging, whispering. Your mother's friends, your business partners, everyone in your circle. They're going to see me as the wrong choice. Then they're idiots. She smiled slightly. Thanks. But that doesn't make it easier. Ethan crossed the room. He stood in front of her, close enough to touch, but not touching. I'm sorry I didn't stop her sooner. I should have shut it down the second she started. You did fine. No, I froze. Just for a second, but I froze. He met her eyes. I won't do that again, I promise. Amara studied his face. Then she nodded. Okay. That evening there was a small dinner party planned. Local wine distributors and investors who'd been scheduled weeks ago. Ethan had forgotten about it completely. We can cancel, he told Amara as they dressed. No, we should go. She adjusted her dress in the mirror. She'd chosen something simple and elegant. Dark blue that made her skin glow. I won't hide because your mother was rude. The dinner was held in the vineyard's event space. About 30 people mingled with wine glasses and small plates. Ethan and Amara entered together. Conversations died. People stared. Vivian stood near the bar, holding court with several older women. Her eyes locked on Amara. The look she gave could have frozen wine. Let's get this over with, Amara murmured. They worked the room, shook hands, made small talk. Most people were polite but distant. A few were genuinely warm. One older man congratulated Ethan sincerely and told Amara she was lovely. But Vivian's presence poisoned the air. She made comments just loud enough to be heard. Remarks about unexpected choices and modern marriages that dripped with contempt. Ethan felt his jaw clench tighter with each one. Dinner was served. They sat at the head table. Vivian positioned herself at the opposite end, as far from Amara as possible. During the meal, Vivian's voice carried across the table. I was just telling Margaret about traditional Ward family weddings, how we've always maintained certain standards. Standards? Someone asked. Oh, you know, appropriate matches. People from similar backgrounds who understand our world. She smiled sweetly at Amara. Of course, times change. Not always for the better. Amara's fork paused halfway to her mouth. She set it down carefully. Ethan stood up. His chair scraped loudly against the floor. Excuse me, he said, his voice cutting through the chatter. I need to say something. The room went silent. My mother seems to have some concerns about my marriage, Ethan continued. Let me address them publicly so there's no confusion. Vivian's face went pale. Ethan, sit down. No. He looked around the room. I married Amara because Harold Collins, one of the finest men I know, believed we were suited. I trust his judgment completely. More than that, I've spent the last few days getting to know my wife. She's talented, kind, intelligent, and graceful under pressure that would break most people. He turned to look at Amara. Her eyes were wide. Anyone who has a problem with my marriage can take it up with me directly, Ethan said. But understand this, Amara is my wife. She's part of this family now. She deserves respect. If you can't give her that, there's the door. Complete silence. Then one person started clapping. The older man from earlier. Others joined slowly. Within seconds, most of the room applauded. Vivian's face flushed red. She grabbed her purse and walked out. Oliver followed, smirking at Ethan as he passed. Bold move, cousin. Let's see how long it lasts. Later that night, Ethan and Amara walked through the vineyard under fairy lights that Marco had strung between the vines. Music drifted from the main house, where the party continued without them. You didn't have to do that, Amara said. Yes, I did. Your mother's going to be furious. Let her be furious. He stopped walking and turned to face her. I'm sorry. For earlier when she first arrived, I should have defended you immediately. You were shocked. I get it. That's not an excuse. He took her hand. You said you wanted someone who'd see you. Really see you. I'm trying, Amara. I know we barely know each other. I know this whole situation is bizarre, but I'm trying. She looked down at their joined hands. I know you are. They started walking again. The fairy lights cast everything in a soft glow. Above them, stars scattered across the sky. Tell me something true, Ethan said. Something you've never told anyone. Amara was quiet for a long time. Finally, she said, I'm scared. Of what? Of this. Of us. Of wanting this to work and having it fall apart anyway. She stopped walking. After my ex, I promised myself I wouldn't put my heart on the line again, that I'd keep things safe and controlled. But you, she shook her head, you make me want to try, and that terrifies me. Ethan's chest felt tight. I'm scared too. Yeah. I've spent my whole life trying to be what everyone else wanted. The perfect son, the perfect businessman. Never just me. He squeezed her hand. But around you, I don't feel like I have to perform. I can just be Ethan. That's terrifying and amazing at the same time. Amara looked up at him. The fairy lights reflected in her eyes. What are we doing? She whispered. I don't know, but I want to find out. He leaned down slowly, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. Instead, she rose up on her toes to meet him. Their second kiss was nothing like the first. This one wasn't for cameras or crowds. This was just them, soft and tentative and real. When they pulled apart, Amara was smiling. Okay, she said. Okay, let's try. Let's see what this is. Ethan's heart felt like it might explode. Yeah, she laughed. Fate went to a lot of trouble to put us together. Might as well see where it goes. They walked back to the house hand in hand. For the first time since the wedding, the future felt less like a burden and more like a possibility. The next morning started perfectly. Then it all fell apart. Ethan woke to his phone buzzing non-stop. Text messages, missed calls, email notifications piling up. He grabbed the phone and saw Oliver's name, then his mother's, then numbers he didn't recognize. He opened his messages and felt his stomach drop. Photos. Someone had leaked photos from the wedding and the vineyard, but they'd been edited, captioned, made to look like Amara was some kind of gold digger who'd trapped him. One headline read, "Winery heirs mysterious bride, what's she really after?" Another, "Inside the shocking arranged marriage that has California society buzzing." The photos showed Amara laughing at the reception, but the caption called it calculated charm. One showed her with her camera at the vineyard, described as already cataloguing assets. It was vicious, deliberate, designed to make her look manipulative. Ethan's hands shook as he scrolled through it all. His phone rang. A reporter. He declined the call. Another call came immediately. He turned off the phone. He found Amara in the kitchen with Rosa. They were laughing about something. She looked so happy. Then she saw his face. "What's wrong?" He showed her the phone. The happiness drained from her expression. She took the phone and scrolled silently. Her face went carefully blank. That mask she'd worn at the wedding. "Amara?" "It's fine," she said, handing back the phone. "It's not fine. This is Oliver. Maybe my mother. I don't know, but I'll fix it." "How?" Her voice was flat. "Put out a statement. That'll just make it worse. Deny it. People believe what they want to believe." Rosa looked between them, worried. She quietly excused herself. "I'll call Harold," Ethan said. "He'll know what to do." "Harold can't fix this. Nobody can." Amara wrapped her arms around herself. "This is what I was afraid of. Being turned into a story. A problem to solve. You're not a problem. Those people are lying. But they're out there and more will come." She met his eyes. "Can you handle that, really? Because it's only going to get worse. I can handle anything if we're together." A reporter knocked on the front door, then another. Rosa told them to leave, but they stayed on the property, cameras ready. Ethan's phone buzzed with a new call, even though he'd turned it off. Someone had gotten his other number, a different reporter requesting an interview. That afternoon, they had an interview scheduled with a wine industry magazine. It had been arranged weeks ago before the wedding. The reporter arrived with questions that had nothing to do with wine and everything to do with their marriage. "Is it true the wedding was arranged to merge business interests? What do you say to critics who question the authenticity of your relationship?" "Mr. Ward, did you know about your bride's background before the ceremony?" Ethan tried to answer diplomatically. Keep it professional. Protect Amara. But then the reporter asked, "Do you love your wife?" Ethan froze. It was just a second, maybe two, but in that hesitation everything changed. "Of course," he said finally. "We're building something real." But the damage was done. He'd hesitated, on camera, when asked if he loved his wife. The reporter smiled like a shark. That night Amara was quiet during dinner. She pushed food around her plate, barely spoke. "Talk to me," Ethan said. "What do you want me to say?" "Anything. Yell at me. Tell me I screwed up." "You did screw up." Her voice was soft but cutting. "When he asked if you loved me, you froze." "Amara, I didn't mean—" "I know you didn't mean it. That's the problem." She set down her fork. "We're not in love, Ethan. We're trying. We're hoping. But we're not there yet. And when people ask, when they push, you can't even fake it convincingly. I'm not good at lying. I'm not asking you to lie. I'm asking you to—" She stopped, shook her head. "I don't know what I'm asking for. This is impossible." "It's not impossible." "Isn't it?" She looked at him and her eyes were tired. "Your family hates me. The press is turning me into a villain. You can't even tell a reporter you love me without hesitating. What are we doing?" "We're trying, like you said. We're seeing where this goes. Maybe we shouldn't." The words hung between them like a wall. Ethan felt panic rise in his chest. "Don't say that." "Why not? Be honest. Would you have chosen me if this wasn't arranged? If you'd seen me on the street or at a party, would you have even looked twice?" The question hit like a physical blow because they both knew the answer. "That's not fair," Ethan said. "But it's true." Amara stood up. "I'm tired, Ethan. I'm tired of fighting. Tired of being the problem everyone has to work around. Tired of wondering if you're defending me because you want to or because you feel obligated. I want to. God, Amara, I want to." "Then why did you hesitate?" Her voice cracked. "Why couldn't you just say you love me?" "Because I'm terrified." The words burst out of him. "Because I'm falling for you. And it scares the hell out of me. Because if I say I love you and this falls apart, I don't know how I'll survive it." Silence. Amara's eyes glistened. "I can't do this." "Yes, you can. We can." She shook her head. "I need some space. Time to think." "Amara, please." She walked upstairs. He heard her door close. Not a slam, just a quiet, final click. Ethan sat at the table alone. Outside, the vineyard stretched into darkness. Inside, everything felt like it was crumbling. The next morning, Ethan woke to an empty house. He found Rosa in the kitchen, her face sad. She left early, Rosa said quietly. Asked me to call her a car. She went back to the city. Did she say anything? Just thank you and... Rosa hesitated. She said she needed to figure out who she was before she could be anyone's wife. Ethan felt like the floor had dropped out from under him. He walked through the house, through the vineyard. Every corner reminded him of Amara, her laugh echoing through the vines, her camera clicking, her hand in his under the fairy lights. He'd prayed for a blonde bride, and fate had given him so much more, given him someone who challenged him and saw him and made him want to be better, and he'd let her walk away. His phone rang. His mother. Ethan, darling. I heard she left. It's for the best, really. He hung up. She called back immediately. He declined it. Then Harold called. She's safe, Harold said without preamble. She's staying with her friend Gina. Did I lose her? Ethan asked. His voice sounded broken. I don't know, son. Did you? Tell me what to do. I can't tell you that, but I can tell you this. Amara doesn't need grand gestures. She needs to know you see her, really see her, not as a wife or an arrangement or a problem to solve, as Amara. After the call ended, Ethan stood in the empty vineyard and made a decision. He wouldn't let this end. Not like this. Not without a fight. Amara had said to prove it with time, not words. So that's exactly what he'd do. The vineyard felt hollow without her. Ethan spent the first day wandering. He walked past the spot where she'd gotten stuck in the mud, the hillside where they'd eaten sandwiches, the fairy lights that still hung between the vines, every memory cut like glass. Rosa tried to feed him. Marco stopped by with soup. Ethan barely tasted any of it. That evening his mother called again. He let it go to voicemail. She left a long message about how this was probably for the best, and they could find someone more suitable. He deleted it without listening to the whole thing. Oliver sent a text. Told you it wouldn't last. Cut your losses. Ethan blocked his number. The only person he wanted to hear from was the one person who didn't call. On the second day, Ethan drove into town. He needed to get out of the house before the walls closed in completely. He found himself at a coffee shop Amara had mentioned once. She'd said it had the best cinnamon rolls on the coast. He ordered one and sat by the window. It tasted like dust in his mouth. A woman at the next table was looking at her phone. He caught a glimpse of the screen. More articles about him and Amara. The headlines had gotten worse. Society's most awkward marriage falls apart in days. What really happened at the Ward Vineyard? His phone buzzed. Harold, how are you holding up? The older man asked. I'm not. Good. That means you care. Ethan almost laughed. That's supposed to make me feel better? It means you're in the right place to fix this. Harold paused. Have you tried calling her? 10 times. She doesn't answer. Then stop calling. Do something that matters. Like what? Figure it out, son. You're smart. Use your head. Better yet, use your heart. The call ended. Ethan sat there for a long time, staring at his cold coffee. Around him, people lived normal lives, ordered drinks, laughed with friends. No one looked at him twice. Then he saw it, a flyer on the bulletin board by the door. Gallery opening. Faces of Honesty. Photographer, Amara Collins. Friday, 7 p.m. Morrison Gallery, San Francisco. His heart jumped. That was tomorrow night. He grabbed the flyer and studied it. There was a small photo of Amara in the corner. She was smiling at the camera, confident and beautiful. This was it. This was how he'd see her again. Ethan spent the next day preparing. He drove to the city that afternoon, checked into a hotel near the gallery. He showered, changed clothes 3 times, settled on simple, dark jeans, a white button-down, a blazer. He looked at himself in the mirror. He looked terrified. You can do this, he told his reflection. His reflection didn't look convinced. At 6:45 he walked to the gallery. His hands wouldn't stop shaking. He'd bought flowers but left them in the hotel. Too much. Too desperate. The gallery was modern and clean. White walls, polished concrete floors, soft lighting, already crowded with people holding wine glasses and chatting quietly. Ethan stepped inside. The first photograph he saw stopped him cold. It was him, not a casual snapshot. A real photograph. Art. It showed him at the vineyard, looking out over the vines at sunset. His profile was sharp against the golden light. He looked thoughtful, almost sad. He didn't remember her taking it. The title card read, Inheritance. He moved to the next photo, then the next. The whole collection was called Faces of Honesty. Each photograph captured someone in a moment of pure, unguarded truth. An old woman laughing until tears ran down her face. A young man proposing on a beach, his whole heart in his eyes. A child holding a dying flower like it was treasure. Then he reached the centerpiece. It was huge, maybe 4 feet wide. Mounted in the center of the gallery where everyone had to see it. It showed him lifting her veil at the wedding. The moment was frozen perfectly. His face showed shock, wonder, fear, hope, everything he'd felt in that instant when he first saw her. And Amara, visible now without the veil, looked calm and beautiful and patient. The title beneath made his throat close up. The moment I was seen. He stood there, staring at it. People moved around him, talking about composition and lighting. They didn't understand. This wasn't just a photograph, it was the truth. Beautiful, isn't it? Ethan turned. A young woman stood next to him. She had bright red hair and wore paint-stained jeans. She held a wine glass like she owned the place. "I'm Gina," she said, "Amara's best friend, and you're the husband." Ethan, his mouth felt dry. "Is she here?" "Back room, hiding from the crowd. She gets nervous at her own shows." Gina studied him like he was a specimen under glass. "You hurt her." "I know. She cried for 2 days straight. I wanted to drive to your vineyard and key your car. I'm sorry. Don't apologize to me." Gina's voice was sharp. "But I'll tell you this. She wouldn't have cried if she didn't care. She wouldn't have made that photograph." She pointed at the centerpiece. "If you didn't matter." Hope flickered in Ethan's chest. "Can I see her?" "That depends. Why are you here?" "To apologize. To tell her," he struggled for words, "to tell her she was right. About everything. And to ask for a chance to prove I can do better." Gina looked at him for a long moment. Then she nodded toward a door at the back of the gallery. "She's in there. Don't screw this up." Ethan walked through the crowd. His heart hammered so hard, he thought everyone must hear it. He reached the door, took a breath, knocked. "Come in," Amara's voice called. He opened the door. She stood with her back to him, adjusting something on a shelf. She wore a simple black dress and heels. Her hair was pulled back, showing the elegant line of her neck. "Gina, I told you I need 5 more minutes before I—" She turned around, saw him, froze. "Hi," Ethan said. Amara's hand went to her throat. "What are you doing here?" "I saw the flyer. At a coffee shop." He stayed by the door, giving her space. "I needed to see you." "Ethan, I don't think—" "Please, just let me say something. Then I'll go if you want." She studied his face, then nodded slowly. Ethan took a breath. "I saw your photographs, all of them, but especially the one of us at the wedding. That was private. I shouldn't have displayed it without asking." "No, I'm glad you did." He stepped closer. "Because it shows the truth. The moment everything changed for me. When I saw you and realized fate had given me something I didn't know I needed." Amara's eyes glistened. "Ethan, I messed up at the interview when I hesitated. But not because I don't care about you. Because I care too much. Because I was falling and it scared me." He moved closer still. "You asked if I would have chosen you, if I'd seen you at a party or on the street. The truth? I don't know. The old me might not have. But the man I'm becoming because of you, he sees you. He chooses you. Every single time." A tear slipped down her cheek. "You can't just say things like that." "Why not? They're true." He reached into his jacket and pulled out his phone. "I turned off my mother's number. Blocked Oliver. Told everyone at the vineyard that you're my wife and they need to respect that or leave." He showed her the phone like evidence. "I'm done letting other people decide what my life should look like." "That's not enough. Words aren't enough." "I know. That's why I'm asking for time. Let me prove it, however long it takes." He stopped a few feet away from her, close enough to touch but not touching. "You said to prove it with time, not words. So give me that time, please." Amara wiped her eyes. Her makeup smudged slightly. She looked vulnerable and strong all at once. "I was so scared," she whispered. "When I saw those articles, when you hesitated, I thought this was just like before. Another man who'd choose his comfort over choosing me. I'm not him. I'm not your ex. I'm just a guy who got lucky enough to marry someone way out of his league." He smiled slightly. "Even if it took an arranged marriage to make it happen." She laughed. It came out half sob, half genuine amusement. "Out of your league. Completely. Have you seen yourself? You're brilliant and talented and brave. You walked into my family's mess and handled it with more grace than they deserved. I ran away. You protected yourself. That's not the same thing." He held out his hand. "Come back. Not to the vineyard, if you don't want. Not to my family. Just Back to me. Let's figure this out together. Amara looked at his hand, then at his face. What if it doesn't work? Then at least we tried. At least we gave fate a real shot. She bit her lip. Her hand lifted slightly, then dropped. I need to think, she said finally. Disappointment crashed over him, but he nodded. Okay, I understand. But, she took a breath, walk with me? After the show? There's a pier nearby. We could talk more. Hope blazed back to life. Yeah, yes, I'd like that. A knock at the door made them both jump. Gina poked her head in. Sorry to interrupt, but people are asking for the artist. She looked between them. You good? Amara nodded. Yeah, I'm good. Then get out here and accept your compliments. You earned them. The gallery show was a success. People loved Amara's work. They crowded around her, asking questions about technique and inspiration. She answered patiently, professionally. Ethan stayed in the background watching. He saw how she lit up when she talked about photography, how passionate she became discussing light and shadow and truth. An older couple stopped to talk to her about the centerpiece. It's stunning, the woman said. The emotion in their faces. You can see the exact moment they really saw each other. Thank you, Amara said softly. Are they still together? The couple? Amara's eyes found Ethan across the room. I don't know yet, but I hope so. The honesty in her voice made his chest tight. After an hour, the crowd started to thin. Gina shooed away the last lingering guests. She hugged Amara tight. You did good, babe, really good. She glanced at Ethan. Don't stay out too late and call me if you need anything. I will. Thanks, Gina. Then it was just Ethan and Amara in the quiet gallery, surrounded by photographs of honest moments. Ready? She asked. Yeah. The pier stretched out into the San Francisco Bay. Lights from the city reflected on the dark water. A cool breeze carried the smell of salt and fish and urban life. They walked side by side, not touching but close enough that their arms occasionally brushed. Tell me about after I left, Amara said. What happened at the vineyard? Ethan told her everything. His mother's calls, Oliver's texts, the way Rosa and Marco had tried to take care of him, even though he barely ate. How every corner of the vineyard reminded him of her. I drove to that coffee shop you mentioned, he said, the one with the cinnamon rolls. Did you try one? Yeah, it was good, but it would have been better with you there. They reached the end of the pier and stopped, leaned against the railing. Waves slapped against the wooden posts below. I was angry at first, Amara admitted. After I left, angry at you for hesitating, at your family for being cruel, at myself for hoping this could work. I don't blame you. But then Gina said something that stuck with me. She said I was judging you for being human, for being scared, like I wasn't scared too. Amara turned to look at him. We both went into this terrified, but we were starting to find something real, and the second it got hard, I ran. You had every right to. Maybe. But it wasn't fair to expect you to be perfect when I wasn't either. She paused. I developed that photograph of us, the wedding one. I spent hours in the darkroom, looking at our faces, and I realized something. We were both seeing each other for the first time in that moment, both terrified and hopeful, and honest. Ethan's throat felt tight. That's what you called it, the moment I was seen. Because that's what it was, for both of us. She turned to face him fully. I don't need you to be perfect, Ethan. I need you to be honest, even when it's messy, even when you don't have the right words. I can do that. Can you? Really? Even when your mother calls, even when Oliver stirs up trouble, even when society people whisper. Yes, he met her eyes. Because none of them matter compared to you. I learned that the hard way. Amara smiled slightly. What about the hesitation at the interview? Are you going to hesitate again when someone asks if you love me? His heart pounded. This was the moment, the question that had broken them before. No, he said firmly, because I do love you. I think I started falling the moment you steadied me during the vows, and I've been falling ever since. He took her hand. I love how you see beauty in everything, how you laugh at Marco's terrible jokes, how you're not afraid to call me out when I'm being stupid. I love your strength and your kindness, and the way you make me want to be better. Tears ran down her face. Ethan, I know it's fast. I know we barely know each other, but I also know this feels right in a way nothing else in my life ever has. He squeezed her hand. So no, I won't hesitate again. I love you, and I'll keep saying it until you believe me. Amara let out a shaky laugh. I believe you. Yeah? Yeah. She stepped closer. Because I love you too, even though it's terrifying, even though we have a million things to figure out. I love you. He pulled her into his arms. She wrapped herself around him, her face pressed against his chest. They stood there, holding each other while the city lights sparkled around them. What now? Ethan asked into her hair. Now we try again, for real this time. Back to the vineyard? Not yet. She pulled back to look at him. I need a few more days to finish some work here, and you need to talk to your mother. Really talk to her, set boundaries. I can do that. And we need to do this differently, not rushing, not pretending everything's perfect, just honest, taking it one day at a time. One day at a time, he agreed, starting with right now. She smiled. What about right now? Right now, I want to kiss my wife, if that's okay. More than okay. He kissed her, slow and deep and full of promise. Around them the city buzzed with life, but in that moment it was just the two of them, two people who'd been brought together by fate and were choosing to stay together by love. When they finally pulled apart, Amara rested her forehead against his. Take me to dinner, she said, somewhere with terrible lighting and mediocre food. No fancy places, no performances. I know just the spot. They walked back along the pier, hand in hand, toward whatever came next. 5 days later, Ethan stood outside his mother's house in San Francisco. The building was elegant, expensive, everything arranged just so. His palms were sweating. Amara squeezed his hand. You can do this. Come with me? No. This is something you need to do alone. She kissed his cheek. But I'll be waiting at the coffee shop on the corner, however long it takes. He watched her walk away, then climbed the steps and rang the bell. His mother opened the door. She looked surprised, then guarded. Ethan, I wasn't expecting you. Can I come in? She hesitated, then stepped aside. The living room was exactly as he remembered. Antiques and art. Everything perfect and cold. They sat across from each other. Vivian poured tea neither of them would drink. I came to set some ground rules, Ethan said. His mother's eyebrow arched. Ground rules? About my marriage? About Amara? About how this is going to work going forward? Ethan, if this is about my comments at the vineyard, it's about all of it. The wedding, the reception, the dinner party, the phone calls. He kept his voice steady. You don't have to like my choices, Mom, but you do have to respect them. I'm your mother. I'm trying to protect you. From what? From being happy. He leaned forward. Amara makes me happy. She sees me, the real me, not the ward heir, not the winery owner, just Ethan. Vivian's face tightened. That girl doesn't understand our world. Her name is Amara, and maybe that's good. Maybe our world needs someone who doesn't understand it, who challenges it. You're throwing away everything your father built. The words hit like a slap. Ethan took a breath. Dad would have liked her, he said quietly. He always said the best wines came from the vines people overlooked, the ones that didn't look perfect but had the most character. He met his mother's eyes. Amara's not what you expected, but she's what I need, and if you can't accept that, then I'm sorry, but I choose her. Silence filled the room. Vivian looked down at her hands. When she spoke, her voice was smaller. After your father died, I was terrified. Terrified of losing control, of losing our place in society, of losing you. She finally looked up. I thought if I could control everything, who you married, what people thought of us, then nothing else could be taken from me. Mom, let me finish. She took a shaky breath. But I was wrong. I've been so focused on protecting the image of our family that I forgot about the actual family. About you. Her eyes glistened. I'm sorry, Ethan, for what I said to Amara, for trying to push for an annulment, for all of it. Ethan felt something loosen in his chest. Thank you. I don't know if I can be what you want me to be, but I can try, if you'll let me. I will, but you need to apologize to Amara, face to face, and mean it. Vivian nodded slowly. I can do that. They sat there for a moment, not hugging, not quite comfortable, but it was a start. She's waiting for me, Ethan said finally, at the coffee shop on the corner. Bring her back here. What? Bring her back. Let me apologize now. While I have the courage. Vivian stood up. Please. Ethan hesitated, then nodded. Okay, I'll be right back. He found Amara at the coffee shop, sitting by the window with a book. She looked up when he entered. That was fast, she said. She wants to see you, to apologize. Amara's eyes widened. Now, if you're ready. No pressure if you're not. She closed her book, stood up, smoothed her dress. Let's do it. They walked back to the house together. His mother waited in the doorway. Amara, Vivian said. Her voice was formal but not cold. Thank you for coming. Mrs. Ward. They went inside, sat in the perfect living room. Vivian poured fresh tea. Her hands shook slightly. "I owe you an apology," Vivian said finally. "What I said at the vineyard was cruel and wrong. You didn't deserve that, especially not in your own home." Amara listened quietly. "I've spent so many years trying to control everything," Vivian continued, "trying to protect what my husband built. But I lost sight of what really matters. I hurt you in the process. And for that, I'm truly sorry." "Thank you for saying that," Amara said softly. "I don't expect you to forgive me immediately, but I hope in time we might start over." Amara looked at Ethan. He nodded slightly, encouraging but not pressuring. She turned back to Vivian. "I'd like that. Starting over sounds good." Vivian's shoulders sagged with relief. "I have something for you. Wait here." She left the room, returned a moment later with a small wooden box. "This was Ethan's grandmother's," Vivian said, opening it. Inside sat a delicate gold bracelet with tiny flowers carved into each link. She wore it every day, even when she was working in the garden. Even at the end, she held it out to Amara. "I think she would have wanted you to have it." Amara's hand trembled as she took the bracelet. "Mrs. Ward, I can't—" "You can. And please, call me Vivian." Tears slipped down Amara's face. Ethan helped her fasten the bracelet around her wrist. It caught the light, delicate and beautiful. "Thank you," Amara whispered. They stayed for another hour, talking carefully at first, then more naturally. Vivian asked about Amara's photography. Amara asked about Ethan's childhood. By the time they left, something had shifted. Not perfect, not completely healed, but better. On the street outside, Amara looked at the bracelet on her wrist. "That was brave," she said, "what you did in there." So was accepting her apology. "She hurt me. I know. But she's trying. That matters." Amara took his hand. "What now?" "Now?" Ethan smiled. "Now I show you something I've been working on." They drove north, back toward the vineyard. The sun set as they traveled, painting the sky in impossible colors. "Where are we going?" Amara asked. "You'll see." They pulled up to the vineyard as twilight fell. But instead of going to the main house, Ethan drove to a far corner of the property, a spot Amara hadn't seen before. He parked and led her down a stone path. Lanterns lit the way, leading to a small, cleared area surrounded by vines. In the center, white roses bloomed, dozens of them. Freshly planted, a wooden plaque stood among the flowers. Amara walked closer to read it. "Planted by fate." She turned to him, tears streaming. "Ethan, I wanted you to have a place here," he said. "Something that's yours, something beautiful that represents us. This corner was neglected, overgrown, but I cleared it out. Planted these roses, made it new." He moved closer. "Like you did for me. You cleared out all the old expectations and helped me grow into something better." Amara laughed and cried at the same time. "That's incredibly cheesy." "I know. Do you love it?" "I love it. I love you." He pulled her close, kissed her among the white roses as stars appeared overhead. "Stay," he whispered. "Come home." "I thought you'd never ask." Amara moved back to the vineyard on a Tuesday afternoon, not with fanfare or announcements, just her clothes, her cameras, and a willingness to try. Rosa cried happy tears when she saw them pull up. Marco immediately started cooking. Even the vineyard workers seemed lighter, like the whole property had been holding its breath. "Welcome home, Mrs. Ward," Rosa said, hugging Amara tight. "Just Amara, please." "No," Rosa said firmly. "You are Mrs. Ward. You belong here now." That first night back felt different than before. They ate dinner on the terrace, simple pasta and salad, nothing fancy, just them and the sounds of evening settling over the vines. "I want to do this right," Ethan said. "Take our time. Build something real." "What does that look like?" Amara asked. "I don't know. Maybe we start with actually dating, even though we're already married." She laughed. "That's backwards. Everything about us is backwards. Might as well embrace it." So they dated, sort of. Ethan took her to the lighthouse she'd mentioned, the abandoned one up the coast. They climbed to the top and watched the sunset turn everything gold, just like she'd described. Amara took photos while Ethan watched her work, fascinated by the way she moved. She took him to her favorite bookstore in Oakland, a tiny place that smelled like old paper and coffee. They browsed for hours, showing each other books, arguing playfully about which genres were best. They cooked together in the vineyard kitchen. Amara was terrible at cooking. She burned toast, somehow made scrambled eggs rubbery. Ethan taught her patiently, standing behind her at the stove, his hands guiding hers. I'm hopeless, she said, laughing as another batch of pancakes came out lopsided. You're perfect, he corrected, just not at cooking. They took long walks through the vineyard in the early mornings. Amara brought her camera. Ethan brought coffee and a thermos. They talked about everything and nothing, childhood memories, future dreams, silly things like favorite ice cream flavors and whether dogs were better than cats. Slowly, carefully, they built a life together. 3 weeks after she returned, Oliver showed up unannounced. Ethan was in the office when Rosa came to find him. Her face looked worried. Your cousin is here. He's being difficult. Ethan found Oliver in the tasting room, helping himself to their best wine. He looked smug and well-dressed and completely at home. Cousin, Oliver said. Heard the wife came back. Surprised she lasted this long. What do you want, Oliver? Just checking in, making sure you haven't completely lost your mind. He swirled the wine in his glass. The family's concerned. Mom especially. Your mother has no say in my marriage, doesn't she? She owns 30% of this place. I own another 10. Family votes matter, Ethan. Ice ran down Ethan's spine. What are you saying? I'm saying that if your little experiment keeps damaging the ward name, there might be consequences. Board meetings, votes, changes in management. You can't do that, can't I? Oliver set down his glass. Think about it. Your mother's society friends are all talking. Investors are asking questions. How long before they decide you're not fit to run things? Before Ethan could respond, Amara walked in. She'd been photographing in the garden. Dirt streaked her jeans. Her hair was windblown. She looked beautiful and completely unbothered by Oliver's presence. Oliver, she said calmly, I didn't know you were visiting. Just leaving, actually. He smiled coldly. Nice to see you again, Amara. Hope you're enjoying your time here, however long it lasts. He left. The threat hung in the air like poison. Amara moved to Ethan's side. What was that about? He told her everything. About the ownership percentages, the family board, Oliver's veiled threats. He's bluffing, Amara said. Maybe, but what if he's not? She took his face in her hands, made him look at her. Then we deal with it, together. I'm not going anywhere, Ethan. Not because of Oliver. Not because of anyone. This could get ugly. I've handled ugly before. She kissed him softly. Besides, you have Harold on your side. He owns the other 60% of the distribution network Oliver needs. Your cousin isn't as powerful as he thinks. Ethan pulled her close. When did you get so smart about business? I pay attention. She rested her head on his chest. Plus Gina's dating a lawyer. She's been giving me tips. Despite everything, he laughed. That evening, Ethan called Harold. Oliver paid me a visit, he said. Made some threats about family votes and management changes. Harold was quiet for a moment. Then he chuckled. That boy never learns. You knew he'd try something. Of course. He's been trying to undermine you for years. This is just his latest move. Harold's voice turned serious. But here's what Oliver doesn't know. I've been restructuring the business agreements. As of last week, the family board has no power over vineyard operations without unanimous consent, which includes my vote, and I vote with you. Relief flooded through Ethan. Why didn't you tell me? Because you needed to stand on your own first, to choose Amara without knowing you had a safety net. Harold paused. You passed that test, son. Now I've got your back. Thank you. Don't thank me. Just love that girl and make her happy. That's all the thanks I need. The weeks turned into months. Summer faded into fall. The vines changed color, preparing for harvest. Amara's photography business grew. She set up a small studio in one of the vineyard's outbuildings. Local clients came for portraits. She sold prints online. Her work from the gallery show got featured in a magazine. Ethan expanded the vineyard's restaurant, bringing in more visitors. They hosted wine tastings every weekend. The business thrived, but more importantly, they thrived. They learned each other's rhythms. Amara was a morning person. Ethan did his best thinking at night. She liked to work in complete silence. He needed music. She was organized to a fault. He was scattered but creative. They fought sometimes. Small arguments about silly things. Who forgot to close the gate? Whether to watch a movie or go to bed early? How to load the dishwasher properly? But they also learned how to fight fair. No yelling, no walking away angry. They talked things through, said sorry when they needed to, chose each other even when it was hard. One night in October they lay in bed together, properly together now in the master suite. The French doors were open, letting in cool night air. Tell me something, Amara said, her head on his chest. Anything. Are you happy? Ethan thought about it. Yeah, really happy. You? More than I thought possible. She traced patterns on his skin. I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop, for something to go wrong. Nothing's going to go wrong. You don't know that. No, but I know us, and I know we can handle whatever comes. He kissed the top of her head. We're good at this, at being together. She smiled against his chest. Yeah, we are. In November, Vivian visited again, but this time was different. She called ahead, asked politely if she could come for lunch, brought a homemade pie. I'm trying to be better, she explained, when Amara raised an eyebrow at the pie. Rosa's been giving me lessons. They ate on the terrace, the three of them. Conversation was still a little careful, but warmer than before. I joined a grief support group, Vivian said suddenly. After our last talk, I realized I never really dealt with losing your father. I just controlled everything instead. Ethan reached across the table, took his mother's hand. I'm proud of you, Mum. It's hard, talking about feelings, admitting I was wrong. She looked at Amara. But you were worth it, both of you. Amara's eyes glistened. Thank you for trying. I should have tried sooner. Vivian squeezed Ethan's hand. I almost lost my son, because I was too stubborn to change. They talked for hours that day, about real things. Vivian told stories about Ethan's father. Amara shared memories of her parents. They laughed and cried and slowly became something like a family. Before Vivian left, she pulled Amara aside. I was wondering, Vivian said hesitantly, if you might want to have dinner sometime. Just us. Maybe I could meet your friend Gina. Amara smiled. I'd like that. Good, because I want to know you, the real you, not just as Ethan's wife, but as yourself. That night, Amara cried in Ethan's arms. Happy tears this time. Your mom's really trying, she said. Yeah, she is. Think it'll last? I think so. She's not perfect, but she's trying. That's all we can ask. December brought rain and cold nights. The vineyard went dormant, preparing for winter, but inside the main house, warmth and life bloomed. Ethan and Amara started planning a vow renewal ceremony, something small, intimate, just close friends and family. I want to do it right this time, Ethan said. Not arranged, not forced, just us choosing each other. In the spring, Amara suggested, when the roses bloom? Perfect. They sent invitations, 20 people total, Harold and his wife, Gina and her lawyer boyfriend, Rosa and Marco and the core vineyard staff, Vivian, even Oliver, though Ethan doubted he'd come. Amara designed the ceremony herself, simple but meaningful, vows they'd write, readings from poems they loved, no fancy production, just truth. As they planned, Ethan watched his wife work, the way she bit her lip when she concentrated, how she doodled in the margins of her notebooks, the soft humming when she was happy. What? She asked, catching him staring. Nothing, just thinking about how lucky I am. Cheesy, she said, but she smiled. I'm a cheesy guy. You married me. Too late to complain now. She laughed and kissed him. Guess I'm stuck with you. Forever, he agreed. Spring arrived slowly. First tiny buds on the vines, then green shoots, then flowers. The white roses in their special corner bloomed first. Hundreds of them. The whole clearing smelled like heaven. It's perfect, Amara breathed. They set up chairs in a semicircle around the roses, hung lights in the trees, set up a small altar made of driftwood and grapevines. The morning of the ceremony, Ethan woke before dawn, couldn't sleep, too excited, too nervous. He found Amara on the terrace, watching the sunrise. She wore a robe over her pajamas. Her hair was loose. Can't sleep either, he asked. Too many butterflies. She leaned into him as he wrapped his arms around her. Is it weird to be nervous about renewing vows? We're already married. Not weird. This feels bigger somehow. More real. Yeah, it does. They stood there as the sun painted the sky pink and gold. No regrets? Ethan asked softly. Not a single one. You? Only that I prayed for a blonde bride. He turned her to face him. I was such an idiot. She smiled. You were human. Scared. That's okay. Fate knew better than me. Fate usually does. The ceremony began at 4 in the afternoon. Golden light slanted through the trees. The white roses glowed. Guests arrived in casual spring clothes. No tuxedos or fancy gowns. Just comfortable elegance. Gina hugged Amara tight. You look beautiful, babe. Amara wore a simple cream dress, flowing and light, flowers in her hair, the gold bracelet from Ethan's grandmother on her wrist. Vivian arrived with tears already in her eyes. She hugged her son, then surprisingly hugged Amara just as tight. Thank you, Vivian whispered, for loving him, for being patient with me. Harold officiated. He stood at the driftwood altar, looking distinguished and proud. We're here today, he began, not because these two need to get married. They already did that. We're here because they're choosing each other again, consciously, completely, with eyes wide open. Music started. Simple acoustic guitar. Rosa had helped Ethan plan this part. Ethan walked down the short aisle between the chairs. He stood at the altar, hands clasped, trying not to cry already. Then Amara appeared. She walked alone. No one to give her away, because she was giving herself freely. The sight of her stole his breath, not because of the dress or the flowers, but because of her smile, the joy on her face, the love in her eyes. She reached the altar, took his hands. "Hi," she whispered. "Hi," he managed. Harold smiled at them both. "Ethan and Amara have written their own vows. Ethan, would you like to begin?" Ethan took a shaky breath. "When I married you the first time, I didn't know what I was getting. I was scared and selfish and way too focused on what I thought I wanted instead of what I needed." He squeezed her hands. "You came into my life like a storm, beautiful and powerful and completely unexpected. You challenged everything I thought I knew about myself, about love, about what matters." Tears streamed down Amara's face. "I'm not the same man who stood in that chapel 6 months ago," Ethan continued. "You've changed me, made me better, braver, more honest. And I promise to keep growing, to keep choosing you, to see you, really see you, every single day for the rest of my life." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a ring, a new one, simple gold with a tiny diamond. "This isn't to replace your wedding ring," he said. "It's to go with it. A reminder that we chose this, that we choose each other." He slipped it onto her finger next to the original band. Amara wiped her eyes, took a breath. "My turn?" Harold nodded. "Ethan Ward, you infuriate me sometimes." Laughter rippled through the small crowd. "You're terrible at texting back. You leave coffee cups everywhere. You think you can't dance even though you totally can." Ethan grinned through his tears. "But you're also the kindest man I've ever met," Amara continued, her voice growing serious. "You stood up for me when it would have been easier to stay silent. You fought for us when I was ready to give up. You see me, all of me, and you love me anyway. That's the greatest gift anyone's ever given me." She pulled out her own ring, a simple gold band for him. "I promise to be patient when you're stubborn, to laugh at your terrible jokes, to keep taking photos of you when you're not looking because you make the most beautiful moments." Her voice broke. "And I promise to choose you, every single day, in every single way, for all the days we have." She slid the ring onto his finger. Harold's voice was thick with emotion. "By the power invested in me by two people who don't need my permission, but asked for my blessing anyway, I declare you still married, still choosing each other, still walking this path together." He paused, smiled. "Ethan, kiss your wife." Again. Ethan pulled Amara close and kissed her. The guests erupted in cheers and applause. When they pulled apart, both crying and laughing, Harold raised his glass. "To fate," he said, "which gives us not what we ask for, but what our hearts secretly need." "To fate," everyone echoed. The celebration lasted into the evening. Marco had prepared a feast. They ate under string lights as the sun set. Wine flowed. Laughter filled the vineyard. Gina gave a toast that was equal parts funny and touching. "I thought Amara was crazy when she agreed to this arranged marriage thing, but then I met Ethan, and I saw the way he looked at her, like she hung the moon. So yeah, maybe fate knows what it's doing." Rosa and Marco presented them with a photo album, pictures from the past 6 months. Ethan and Amara walking through the vines, laughing at dinner, working side by side in the garden, a whole life captured in snapshots. "You gave us a family," Rosa said, crying. "Thank you." Even Oliver showed up, surprisingly. He stood at the edge of the gathering, looking uncomfortable. Eventually, he approached Ethan. "Congratulations," Oliver said stiffly. "Thanks for coming." "Look, Oliver struggled. "I was wrong. About her. About you. I was jealous and stupid." Ethan studied his cousin, saw genuine regret. "Yeah, you were. I'm sorry. Tell her, not me." Oliver nodded. He approached Amara, who was talking with Gina. They spoke quietly. Ethan couldn't hear what was said, but Amara smiled and shook Oliver's hand. Not quite forgiveness, but a start. As the evening grew late, Vivian asked to speak. She stood near the roses, glass in hand. "I haven't been a good mother-in-law," she said bluntly. "Or a good mother, honestly. I let fear and pride control me. I said terrible things, did terrible things. She looked at Amara. I'm sorry, for all of it. You deserved better from me. Amara stood and walked to Vivian, extended her hand. Thank you for saying that. Vivian surprised everyone by pulling Amara into a hug. You're good for him, for all of us. I'm grateful fate brought you here. When they pulled apart, both women were crying, but smiling too. Late that night, after everyone had left or gone home, Ethan and Amara walked through their rose garden, just the two of them under the stars. Best day ever, Amara said, leaning into him. Better than the first wedding? So much better, because this time we meant it. They stopped at the plaque, planted by fate. You know what's funny? Ethan said. I spent my whole life trying to control everything, plan everything, make sure nothing surprised me. And then fate gave me you, the biggest surprise of my life. Good surprise or bad surprise? He turned her to face him. The best surprise, the kind that changes everything. She reached up and touched his face. Remember that morning, when you prayed for a blonde bride? Unfortunately, yes. I'm glad fate ignored you. Me too. He kissed her forehead. Me too. They stood there wrapped in each other while the vineyard settled into night around them. The roses smelled sweet. The air was warm. Everything felt perfect. Ethan, Amara said softly. Yeah? What do you think our life will look like? In 5 years? 10? He thought about it. I think we'll still be here, making wine, taking photos, fighting about small things, choosing each other every day. Kids? Maybe. If we're ready. If fate decides it's time. She smiled. I like that plan. What about you? What do you see? Honestly, I see us happy, growing together, building something real. She paused. I see a family, not just the two of us, but everyone who gathered here today. Rosa and Marco, Harold, your mom, even Oliver, surprisingly. All of us finding our way to each other. That sounds perfect. They started walking back toward the house. Lights glowed in the windows, home. At the door, Amara stopped, looked back at the vineyard one more time. You know what the best part is? She asked. What? We didn't just find love. We chose it. Every single day we choose it. Ethan pulled her close. And I'll keep choosing it. Choosing you. For the rest of my life. Promise? Promise. She kissed him then. Long and slow and full of everything they'd been through. All the doubt and fear and hope and joy, all of it contained in that single moment. When they finally pulled apart, both breathless and smiling, Ethan whispered the opposite of his first prayer, the one he'd said all those months ago in fear and selfishness. Please, he said, let her always be mine. Amara laughed softly. I'm not yours, Ethan Ward, but you're definitely mine. That works too. They walked inside together, husband and wife, not because fate forced them, but because they chose each other. And in the vineyard behind them, white roses bloomed under starlight, planted by fate, tended by love, growing stronger with each passing day, just like them. 6 months later, the vineyard had never looked better. Fall harvest was in full swing. Workers moved through the rows, carefully selecting the perfect grapes. The air smelled like earth and fruit and possibility. Amara photographed everything. She'd been commissioned by a national magazine to do a feature on small family wineries. The Ward Vineyard would be the centerpiece. Ethan watched her work, fascinated as always by her complete focus. She'd climbed onto a ladder to get the perfect angle of the sunset through the vines. Careful, he called. I'm fine. She snapped another photo. This light is perfect. His phone buzzed. A text from Harold. Board meeting next week. Oliver's being quiet. Vivian's on your side. Think we're good. Ethan smiled. Things really had changed. Amara climbed down and showed him her camera screen. Look at this one. The photo showed workers laughing, grapes in their baskets, golden light flooding everything. It looked like joy captured in pixels. It's beautiful, he said, like everything you do. Cheesy, she accused, but she smiled. You love it. I love you. Same thing. Rosa appeared from the house, waving. Dinner in 20 minutes, and Mrs. Vivian called. She's bringing dessert. They walked back together, hand in hand. Inside, the house smelled like Marco's cooking, their life, their home, their choice. As they reached the door, Amara stopped. You know what I realized today? What? I don't remember the last time I was scared. Of us, of the future, of anything. Ethan pulled her close. That's because you're not alone anymore. We're not alone anymore. Yeah. She rested her head on his chest. We're not. In the distance, the sun finished setting, painting the vineyard in impossible colors. Exactly the kind of moment Amara would usually photograph, but this time she just stood there, present, content, living the moment instead of capturing it, because some moments didn't need to be saved, they just needed to be lived together. The end.